you for joining us on Cape Chronicle. I'm Audra Kane. Today we're tackling a tough topic facing all communities, violent crime. We have criminologist Dr. Blasdell from Southeast Missouri State University to discuss community prevention strategies and recidivism. We'll talk with Cape Girardeau City Manager Scott Meyer about the Purpose-Built Community Program, a long-term initiative to end the cycle of poverty for South Cape families. And to round it out, Cape Girardeau Police Department Public Information Officer Rick Schmidt will explain the police department's response and outreach strategies. That's all ahead on Cape Chronicle.
This is Candace Davis.
This is Shad Berner.
Hello, this is Tom Hardy.
I'm Stacy Dohanley.
This is Frank Nickel.
I'm Brooke Hildebrand Clubs.
This is Nate Savarino. You're listening to KRCU.
At KRCU, we don't just say anything. Tune in weekdays to hear local voices delivering trusted information on nature, food, history, health, sports, and more during NPR's Morning Edition.
Welcome to Cape Chronicle. I'm Audra Kane. Southeast Missouri State University professor and criminologist Dr. Blasdell joins us. Well, I'm so glad that you're here. We actually chatted prior to this in order to kind of get a handle on how we would discuss violence in the community. And one of the things that we decided was, rather than discussing heavily the effects on a community, because we have seen that with many issues in the news and with the police department. And so we chatted and decided maybe we could focus a little bit more on prevention and how we as community members could help with that. And so I wanted to ask you how you get involved in that as a criminologist.
As a criminologist, I get involved in several ways. My primary responsibility is teaching, and so instructing the next generation of criminal justice practitioners about what we know about crime prevention, and that historically we've been a very, very reactive organization where people commit offenses or people engage in deviant behavior and we react to that behavior. And we're really trying to shift our mentality now and focus on understanding what we know about crime and risk factors, and especially for young children who might be at risk for deviance or criminality, and helping this next generation of practitioners know what to look for and how they can get involved so we can be more proactive so people aren't engaging in crime and deviance. And from that sense, it means that number one, we're helping them before they kind of go down that wrong path, but number two, we're also helping society then. We're helping so people aren't being harmed, so the community isn't experiencing that impact that violent crime can have.
So you mentioned children and your students. What are some community programs that you instruct them in order to make those kinds of changes, or prevent that kind of behavior?
Sure. One of that we're seeing in the research lately, one of the most effective means of preventing crime is having strong mentoring programs, starting at a very early age, having healthy, safe relationships between young children who potentially are at risk for engaging in deviance and adults in the community. And those can be formal mentoring programs like Big Brothers Big Sisters, or even through the Boys and Girls Club or faith-based organizations. But we also recognize that teachers and coaches and tutors can also play such a tremendous role in demonstrating those pro-social activities, what it means to have a healthy relationship with your community. And as a result, we see decreased opportunities for criminal involvement by having those strong mentors.
You mentioned mentors, and something that you and I discussed in our previous conversation was the fact that you were involved in mentoring and programs like that within the prison system, right?
Yes.
So what is that?
It's really, there's really two main issues here. One is trying to prevent crime, but then the other is recognizing that we have this tremendous inmate population in the United States. Our prisons basically are overflowing, and what we know is that about 95% of those who are incarcerated are going to be released. They're going to be coming back into society, and when they're released into society, they're coming back to our communities. And so part of my volunteering with the Missouri Department of Corrections is helping with programs, volunteer-led programs within the prisons to help these individuals to understand what it means to have a healthy relationship, what it means to have a job, what it means to give back in the community, and helping them to build that skill set that was not existent for most of them before they were incarcerated, and helping them to get back to a place where I'm comfortable with them coming back in the community, knowing that they haven't just been locked up and punished, but it's called corrections for a reason. We're trying to fix something, and volunteers can play a tremendous role in helping those individuals to make those behavioral modifications that they need to in order to be, productive members of society.
I know that you are involved in several other projects that address not only prisoners once they come out of prison, preventing crime. What are some of the projects that you're involved in as far as research and development goes?
I'm involved in several different projects, one of which is looking at the effectiveness of victim impact panels in prisons, and part of that program is through one of the inmate programs that I volunteer with, but we're doing an evaluation of it now and looking at how victim impact panels not only can be empowering for victims to go in and tell the inmates, this is how when I was harmed by an offender, not necessarily any of you in this room, but this is the impact that it had on me, this is the impact that it had on my family and on my life. And what we know from that is that we can help inmates to develop empathy. We're learning that empathy is something that can be taught even later in life, in adulthood, and as a result, then again, when they're released back into society, they understand that their actions have this far, we call it the ripple effect, that it doesn't just harm this one person, but that it ripples out and it has this impact on the community that many of them never considered or realized before that program. And at the same time, we're recognizing that that can be also very empowering for the victims to be able to tell their story and say, this is how it harmed me. It can almost be therapeutic. And one of the victims has said, it really gives purpose to this madness that she's experienced in her life, that these horrible things happened to her as a victim, but now she has purpose in turning that into something positive. So it's not only impacting them, but it's helping her to kind of cope with what's happened as well.
When you got involved in this, how did you find this kind of program as far as that information? How did you find that information?
Well, my background is in victim advocacy. When I finished my bachelor's degree, I worked as a victim advocate. So that's always really been where my passion lied, and it was kind of by default that I ended up going into Southeast Correctional Center to observe a victim impact panel. And it really kind of opened my heart and changed my perspective about this inmate population and that they can be rehabilitated, and to see these grown men who admittedly have engaged in horrific behaviors that have harmed individuals in the community as a whole, and seeing firsthand that those changes can be made. It was really kind of one of those things that fell into my lap that I'd never planned on happening, but I think it did for a reason, and it's kind of helped me to be a better victim advocate, be a better instructor, but then also has given me some purpose in helping this population, again, that's going to end up back in our community, and recognizing that if we want to be safe, if we want them to be successful, there's a tremendous expense with continuously incarcerating these individuals, that we all can play a role, whether it be going into the facilities or getting involved in the community. We all can play a role in improving the safety of our communities.
Well, it sounds like I should have taken your class.
You're welcome to. You're welcome anytime.
Well, thank you so much for coming by, and I know that they can get a hold of you through the university.
Absolutely.
Raleigh Blasdell,
Please do.
Criminologist and professor at Southeast Missouri State. Thanks so much for coming by.
Thank you.
We've been speaking with criminologist Raleigh Blasdell, and next we'll have City Manager Scott Meyer on the Purpose-Built Community Initiative. Stay with us for more Cape Chronicle.
Facing life's difficulties takes strength and determination. Whether it's physical challenges or struggles you can't see, It takes strength to ask for help when you need it. Learn how other veterans have reached out for help and hear their stories of strength and recovery at maketheconnection.net.
You can sing in the shower and doodle in the margins of a notebook for the rest of your life, or you can push your creativity to center stage and develop the skills to back it up. At Southeast Missouri State University, you can surround yourself with minds that are as creative and weird and beautiful as yours, at a campus dedicated exclusively to the arts, with classmates who share your passion and faculty who know the industry. You've got talent. Let's see what you got.
Welcome back to Cape Chronicle. I'm Audra Kane. City Manager Scott Meyer has an inside track on neighborhood efforts to stop the cycle of poverty and the Purpose-Built Community Initiative. I'm so glad that you're here.
Well, it's good to be here always.
Well, this was not a program that I had heard of before, and I'm sure that there are probably some viewers who want to know more about it because, as I mentioned in the tease, this has got an ability to help those in poverty and bring them up to the level that we should all be at. So I wanted you to explain a little bit about how this Purpose-Built Community program works.
Well, first of all, I think you touched on a real key component, and that is getting rid of generational poverty or having a huge effect on generational poverty, what that would do to our community, just to free up resources and free up people to really be all they can be. So it really is an important part of that. And the good thing about Purpose-Built is it's based on a model that is working across our nation, and the places where they've been able to apply the model, it's been able to make a huge difference in neighborhoods where generational poverty exists.
And so what are the elements of Purpose-Built Community?
Well, it's really three major elements. The first one is a cradle to career education. So it takes people from the cradle into college or career, making sure that they are educated. Secondly, a mixed income housing. And so this is an important part because people see people of all incomes in their housing. So every day they see people get up, go to work, people who may be struggling to do that, so at different places within that. So that's an important component. The third one is community wellness and safety. And so it's important that people feel safe, that also they're on a path of wellness and health, because that is something that really impacts poverty as well.
Who's involved in implementing the program?
Well, really, it brings a lot of people together, and we have a lot of people in our community right now that are working on poverty and generational poverty in these areas. What Purpose-Built does is it puts a model in place, and then in the secret sauce, they say, is a group called the Neighborhood Quarterback Group, and these are leaders in the neighborhood that kind of become that screener of where are we going to put our emphasis and how are we going to come together with all of these pieces in order to have a holistic approach to the defined neighborhood.
What are I have a list of different pieces. So you mentioned neighborhood leaders.
Right.
Then education comes into play.
Right. So education is a key component, and we are fortunate here. I was able to take educators to Atlanta, which was the first place of the first Purpose-Built community, and they were able to see Drew School there and got lots of great ideas. They also went to the National Convention and saw what is there, and then now they're forming how they will plug in to this cradle to college or cradle to career model.
And then housing also plays into that, right?
Yes, mixed income housing says that again, we want healthy housing within the neighborhood so that you have not just a concentration of poverty and a concentration of people that are short on housing, but you have very quality housing that attracts all different walks into the neighborhood.
And then wellness, community wellness, right?
Yeah, and we're kind of ahead of there because we currently have a our Shawnee Center there and parks and things. One of the things we talked about in PRS 2 is adding in a couple of additional parks there and some trails to help kind of tie that neighborhood together in wellness in the community.
What would you say the response has been from like those neighborhood leaders that you mentioned earlier?
Well, we started about a little over a year ago with meetings, and I'd say they were skeptical at first, and probably I would be too. But as we've now got a little over a year under our belt, and they've seen some activities taking place, like the recent alley sweep that we have, the bright light program that should happen this winter, the inclusion of 2 neighborhood parks. Those are things that I think have said to the community, and the community is responding to and saying, yeah, there must be something to this, and starting to have a feel of real excitement about it and real hope. I think the most important thing we can give is hope.
Is there business partnership along with this? Do you have community leaders in business that are coming together with these neighborhood leaders?
There will be, and really as it begins to form, business leaders come in and they want to be involved. They want to make investment. There have been philanthropists that have said, this is something I'm interested in seeing happen in my community. I've watched as over the last decade, Cape Girardeau has thrived over the last decade, except for a couple of areas in our city that haven't. Well, we want them to have the same type of decade as we've had. So we want that to happen there. Our community wants that too, and so we're seeing that with philanthropists, with businesses, and within the neighborhood itself.
Well, what do you think as the city manager, because you see all the different facets of this program and how it's affecting the city, what do you think is the most encouraging part of it?
I think it is the recent change of feel, and you can't really put a exact measure of that, but we are seeing a renewed involvement of the people that actually live in the neighborhood. So when we have meetings with different groups, with Authentic Voices, or with our South Side meetings that we have, or the churches and the interactions with them, or SNAP, all of those groups are now more energized and more engaged. I think that's where it really has to happen, because this has to happen by that neighborhood. If you try to do it to the neighborhood, there's an old saying that says, what you do to me without me, or what you do to me without, what you do for me without me, you do to me. And that doesn't feel right. But if you involve people and they're involved in those decision makings, then it's them seeing something happen in their neighborhood, and that's where ownership comes in.
And if there is someone who wants to get involved with the program, who might not necessarily live in the neighborhood but wants to help mentor others or help out with that, can they contact your office?
Sure, they can contact my office. They can contact Councilwoman Shelley Moore. She's a big part of that. And then there's all those groups I talked about. There's SNAP, there's Authentic Voices, there is Salvation Army. A lot of places where you can plug in and do work. The new organization, One City, is emerging as a player as well. So we're really excited.
I think everyone looks forward to seeing how this develops and how it can help the people and the community of South Cape Girardeau. So.
Well, we're excited because it's a model that is working over and over again when it's applied into a neighborhood. And so with that success rate and the hope that we're seeing on the community on the south side, we're really excited about its success.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you bringing the topic to us. We've been chatting with City Manager Scott Meyer. After the next break, we'll hear from Public Information Officer Rick Schmidt.
At Southeast Missouri State, we know agriculture can mean so much more than working on the farm. It means research and lab work that lead to profitability and sustainability. It means creating new jobs that other people haven't even thought of yet. It means the spirit of entrepreneurship and the desire to make your own way. You want to do something groundbreaking beyond plowing fields. So let's get started.
National forests are essential to life, majestic and grand. They clean our air, supply drinking water to millions of Americans, and provide homes to countless wildlife. They fuel our imaginations and inspire us to think big. Now, our national forests need us. Fires and natural disasters destroy millions of trees each year. That's why we're replanting our forests from coast to coast. Visit arborday.org. See how you can help.
At Southeast Missouri State, we've been launching the extraordinary careers of educators for nearly 150 years. But that's the thing about educators. They're always ready to learn more, discover new paths, and push themselves to the next level. With our new online educational leadership programs, you can earn the credentials needed to move up in your career. With flexibility for your schedule, accelerated courses, and an affordable price, together we can transform our learning communities and prepare you to conquer your goals.
This is Cape Chronicle, and I'm Audra Kane. We're back with Cape Girardeau Police Department Sergeant Rick Schmidt. You're the Public Information Officer, so that means you are in the know, right? You have all the info on some of the programs we've been talking about and how they affect the community, because you all as officers are out there in the public every single day. You see the violence, you see the poverty, and how is the department addressing that from your perspective?
The chief has made his approach to violent crime his top priority. We have actually taken an officer off the road and moved him into a position to work with landlords in the crime-free multi-housing program that we're about to kick off. That will put Corporal Couch in contact with landlords to help them, not just teach them, but to help them on a daily basis with issues and crime prevention tips, evictions, anything that the landlords have questions about.
So really working from not just a prevention, but like an empowerment situation where those landlords don't feel like, you know, they're being victimized along with the person that rents from them or whatever.
That's correct. We want the landlords to come to us before there is a problem, so we can get on board with them day one and help them during each month of the year.
That's an interesting program. I really wasn't aware of that, but I think a lot of people are experiencing things over the last few years that the police department is becoming involved in. What are some other programs that you feel like have really come into their own as far as community involvement? Because you all have Coffee with a Cop, and so people are able to come and talk with you. So through that, what are some other things y'all have been able to help with?
The Explorer program. We've had Explorers in the past, and they faded. We're back even stronger than ever, where we bring young people that have an interest in being a police officer. And we bring them in and show them what we do every day of the week. Treat them just like we treat a brand new officer, and they get to make the decision before they get too far in their schooling to decide if that's something they want to do.
And how old are the kids that participate in that program?
They can be high school level up to the age of 18.
Okay, all right. And so they get to almost like shadow an officer or actually see what the training is like?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
You can ride with us. They have programs that they run just themselves. They have meetings that they run by themselves. They have uniforms. They make rank depending on how ambitious they are. And it's really, really a cool program.
What are some other programs as far as in the neighborhoods that are heavily affected by violence that officers get involved in and are able to relate better with their community, building those relationships?
I don't know if you call it a program, but it's something that we've done over the past couple of years. We adopt a family for Christmas.
That's a program.
Yeah, I don't know that it has a name, but it's what the patrol guys do. They get a family given to them and we adopt them. And we make sure they have the things they need for Christmas. I mean, and it's not just toys or big fancy toys, it's stuff that they need.
A lot of times food is, on the front line, food is the most important thing that they need, or help with the utilities, things like that, right?
Sure, we help them any way we can.
So now we only have a couple minutes left, but there's a new facility that's going to be opening soon. They're working on it, and the police have been in cramped quarters. How do you, as the public information officer, feel like that new police station is going to change things for you all?
First of all, we're very proud of that building, and it's not even done.
Right.
So that's a huge thing. It's going to make us extremely more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was designed by an interior designer with experts to help along the way. I was just in the building 2 days ago, and it is magnificent. It will make us more efficient every day. It puts the newest technology right at our fingertips, and we're extremely excited about the move.
Well, and it seems like you'll be able to more properly interact with the public and those that you're serving, as well as those who've been arrested, being able to handle them appropriately and have them on the ground floor rather than on the second floor.
That will make a big difference to have our jail on the main floor. We don't have elevators or stairs for folks with disabilities, not just being arrested, and to be able to get to offices and not have to worry about going to the second floor.
Well, it's something that we look forward to seeing. Thank you for participating in those kinds of programs that bring the community together. This is something that we've been talking about today, but you all take it to the front lines. So appreciate you for coming by. We've been chatting with Public Information Officer Rick Schmidt of the Cape Girardeau Police Department. Thank you for joining us today on Cape Chronicle. The program is a collaboration between the Department of Mass Media at Southeast Missouri State University and the City of Cape Girardeau. Our executive producer is Dr. Jim Dufek. I'm Audra Kane. Thanks for watching.